What if time wasn't your enemy? What if the relentless ticking of the clock, the constant pressure to do more, and the overwhelming weight of unfinished tasks could be transformed into a source of calm, clarity, and purpose? The problem isn't that we don't have enough time. The problem is that we don't know how to master it. In a world that glorifies busyness, we often confuse motion with progress. We fill our schedules, chase deadlines, and check off endless to-do lists, only to find ourselves exhausted, distracted, and no closer to a life that feels meaningful. Master Your Time by Thibaut Meurisse is not just another productivity manual. It is a profound guide that invites us to shift our relationship with time itself. It challenges us to stop measuring our worth by how much we accomplish and start focusing on what truly matters. This book reveals that productivity is not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most, with intention and with focus. Thibaut Meurisse takes us on a journey through powerful mindset shifts, practical frameworks, and proven strategies that will empower us to make time our ally, not our master. Throughout this audiobook summary, we will explore how to redefine productivity in a way that brings peace, not pressure. Change our perception of time to create more of it. Identify the work that holds real meaning. Build systems that protect our most precious hours. And develop extraordinary focus in a world full of distractions. Our journey begins by answering a crucial question: what does it really mean to be productive? In Part 1, we will discover that true productivity is not measured by speed or volume, but by meaning. Part 1: Understanding Productivity. Productivity is one of the most misunderstood concepts in modern life. Many people believe that being productive means cramming more activities into an already packed schedule, moving faster, and constantly doing something. However, this approach often leads to burnout, frustration, and the unsettling feeling of being busy yet strangely unfulfilled. True productivity is not about how much one does, but rather about doing what actually matters. It is about intentionally directing energy and time toward meaningful goals, rather than filling the day with trivial tasks that have little long-term value. Productivity is not merely about efficiency or speed. It is not about crossing off a long list of tasks or responding to every email within minutes. It is about aligning daily actions with one's core values and life objectives. When productivity is approached in this way, it becomes a tool for designing a life of purpose rather than one of endless activity. A common mistake many people make is equating productivity with a constant state of busyness. They rush from task to task, believing that their level of activity defines their effectiveness. But true productivity is selective. It requires carefully choosing what deserves attention and what does not. When everything is treated as urgent, nothing meaningful is accomplished. True productivity demands clarity, the ability to differentiate between what is important and what is merely demanding attention. The foundation of genuine productivity rests on self-awareness. Without knowing what truly matters, it becomes impossible to focus on what is essential. People often pursue goals that are inherited from others, absorbed from society, or driven by external pressures, without questioning whether these goals align with their own values. This creates a cycle of endless striving that leads nowhere significant. Instead, mastering time begins with slowing down, reflecting, and making deliberate choices. It requires the courage to say no to tasks and commitments that do not contribute to one's long-term vision. Time is a finite resource, and every decision carries an opportunity cost. Wasting time on low-impact activities means losing precious hours that could have been invested in work that brings fulfillment and progress. True productivity also involves giving full attention to the task at hand. Multitasking is widely praised, but it is often counterproductive. Dividing attention reduces the quality of work and increases the chances of error. When people attempt to handle several things at once, they rob themselves of the opportunity to fully engage with any one of them. Deep, focused work consistently produces higher quality results and leads to a greater sense of satisfaction. Mastering productivity requires a shift in perspective. It involves seeing time not as something that controls life, but as something that can be shaped and directed. Productivity becomes a question of priorities. What matters most right now? What actions will move life forward in a meaningful way? It also requires recognizing that one cannot do everything, and that trying to do so is not a sign of strength but a misunderstanding of what it means to use time wisely. The illusion of productivity is seductive. Checking off minor tasks can give a brief sense of accomplishment, but over time, this creates an empty cycle. It is essential to focus not just on being active, but on being effective. Being effective means working on tasks that bring lasting results, even if these tasks are more challenging or time-consuming. It means choosing depth over speed and substance over appearances. Many people spend their time reacting to what others want from them. Emails, phone calls, and social media messages constantly demand attention, and it becomes easy to let external forces set the agenda. Real productivity requires reclaiming control over that agenda. It is about taking ownership of how time is used and ensuring that each day is a step toward personal goals, not just a response to external pressures. When productivity is understood in this way, it ceases to be a race and instead becomes a thoughtful, deliberate process. It is no longer about doing as much as possible, but about doing what is meaningful with calm, steady focus. Mastery of time begins when each hour is treated as a valuable asset to be carefully invested, rather than something to be passively spent. But what if the real issue is not how time is used, but how time itself is perceived? What if the limitations we feel are not caused by the clock, but by the way we think about the clock? As we continue, we will explore a powerful truth: the way time is experienced is not fixed, it is shaped by perception. And changing that perception may hold the key to unlocking far more time than we believe we have. Part 2: Changing Perception of Time. Time is often seen as an external force, an unstoppable current that carries everyone along whether they are ready or not. People speak of running out of time, losing time, or being at the mercy of time. But what if this way of thinking is not entirely accurate? What if time is not just an objective measurement but also a subjective experience? The way individuals perceive time deeply influences how they use it, and more importantly, how much of it they believe they have. Many people feel trapped in the belief that there is never enough time. They rush from one obligation to another, always feeling behind, constantly overwhelmed. This feeling does not always come from the actual demands on their schedule but from the mindset they hold about time itself. When time is viewed as scarce, the mind enters a state of urgency and pressure, leading to anxiety and reactive decision-making. Yet time itself has not changed. What changes is the mental frame through which it is experienced. The perception of time can either create a sense of abundance or a persistent feeling of lack. For example, when someone is fully present and deeply engaged in an activity, time seems to slow down. Hours can pass in what feels like moments. In contrast, when the mind is scattered or anxious, even a few minutes can feel oppressive. This demonstrates that time is not just a matter of the clock, it is also shaped by attention and awareness. Living with the belief that time is insufficient often causes people to make poor choices. They become more likely to chase minor tasks because completing them offers a quick sense of relief. They rush through important work, give in to distractions, and fall into cycles of shallow productivity. This frantic pace does not create more time, it simply scatters it into fragments that feel increasingly out of control. A more empowering approach is to shift from seeing time as an external enemy to recognizing it as a flexible resource. Time expands when attention deepens. When fully present, even a short period can yield significant results. When attention is divided, long hours can pass with little to show for them. Managing time, therefore, begins with managing attention. This shift in perspective has profound implications. When time is seen as abundant, choices become calmer and more deliberate. There is less urgency to pack each moment with activity and more freedom to focus on what truly matters. It becomes easier to prioritize deep, meaningful work and to resist the temptation to constantly chase minor, urgent tasks. Part of this shift also involves letting go of perfectionism. Many people procrastinate because they feel they do not have enough time to do something perfectly. But waiting for perfect circumstances often leads to delay and inaction. Progress does not require ideal conditions, it simply requires a clear decision to begin. The perception of time can also be influenced by the stories people tell themselves. Thoughts like, "I am always behind, there is never enough time," or "I can't catch up," are not objective facts, they are internal narratives. These narratives shape how life is lived. By changing the story, it is possible to change the experience. Telling oneself, "There is enough time for what matters," can open up a more productive and peaceful relationship with time. Slowing down may seem counterintuitive in a world that constantly pushes for speed, but it often leads to greater clarity and efficiency. When the pace is reduced, the mind can focus more effectively, decisions improve, and energy is used more wisely. Rushing frequently results in mistakes, wasted effort, and low-quality outcomes that consume even more time to correct. The perception of control over time is also essential. People often feel that their time is being taken from them by obligations, by other people's demands, or by the constant pull of technology. Reclaiming control involves making conscious decisions about what to allow into the schedule and what to firmly decline. Time management is not just about fitting more into the day, it is about protecting time for what is most valuable. Creating boundaries around time is an act of respect for one's own goals, for well-being, and for the meaningful work that requires sustained attention. Without boundaries, time is easily consumed by the urgent but unimportant tasks that quickly fill the day. When people consciously choose where their time goes, they often discover that they have more of it than they previously believed. Mastering time does not come from external tools alone, such as calendars or to-do lists. It starts from the inside, with the decision to see time as a flexible and manageable resource, not as a scarce and uncontrollable force. When this mental shift occurs, the same 24 hours begin to feel fuller, calmer, and more under one's direction. But what truly determines whether time is being spent wisely? What specific criteria separate what deserves attention from what should be left behind? In the next part, we will explore a simple yet powerful framework that reveals exactly how to decide what truly matters and what does not. This may change the way priorities are set forever. Part 3. Making a meaningful use of time. Knowing that time is limited leads to an important question: how should time be spent? It is not enough to simply manage time or to change how it is perceived. Time must also be directed toward what genuinely matters. Without clear priorities, even the most efficient use of time can lead to an empty life filled with unimportant activities. Using time meaningfully requires the ability to distinguish between what is essential and what is merely noise. Time becomes meaningful when it is aligned with core values and personal purpose. Many people spend their days reacting to the demands placed on them, rarely stepping back to question whether those demands are worth their attention. They become trapped in cycles of urgency, chasing deadlines and small achievements that offer no lasting satisfaction. Living this way creates a sense of disconnection, as though life is slipping away in service of tasks that do not truly matter. A meaningful use of time begins with intentional choice. It is the ability to look beyond what appears urgent and ask a deeper question: does this task contribute to the life I want to build? Does this effort move me toward my long-term goals, or does it simply satisfy an immediate pressure? Without asking these questions, it is easy to fill the day with activities that feel productive but leave no meaningful impact. Making time meaningful is not only about big life goals or distant dreams. It is also about recognizing the small, often overlooked moments that carry great personal value. Time spent with loved ones, moments of learning, or quiet periods of reflection can hold far greater importance than the endless stream of minor tasks that often consume the day. Meaningful time is not measured by how much is done, but by the depth and significance of what is chosen. Clear priorities make it easier to say no. Every yes to one activity is a no to something else. People who use time wisely understand that declining tasks, invitations, and even responsibilities that do not align with their goals is essential. They guard their time not out of selfishness, but out of respect for what truly deserves their energy. Without this discipline, it is easy to surrender time to whatever appears first, rather than to what matters most. Meaningful time use also involves asking whether an activity is chosen freely or accepted out of obligation. There is a subtle but important difference between what is truly important and what is simply expected. Many people spend large portions of their lives meeting the expectations of others without considering whether those expectations are worth fulfilling. Living by the approval of others often leads to time spent on work that brings no personal satisfaction. Directing time toward what matters also requires clarity about long-term vision. Without knowing where one wants to go, it becomes difficult to decide what is worth doing now. This is why people often feel aimless even when they are busy. They are active, but not necessarily moving in a meaningful direction. Defining clear goals provides a framework for making better decisions about where to invest time. Identifying what is meaningful is not always easy. Distractions often present themselves in attractive forms, offering immediate gratification while pulling attention away from deeper work. The ability to resist distractions and stay focused on what holds long-term value is one of the most important skills in mastering time. Creating a life filled with meaningful time also requires regular reflection. Without pausing to consider how time is being spent, it is easy to drift into patterns that waste it. Reflection allows for adjustment, helps to realign daily actions with long-term priorities, and strengthens the habit of intentional living. Meaningful time is not about doing more, but about doing what matters with clarity and purpose. It is about building a life that is not only full of activity but rich in value and fulfillment. It means using each day to create results and experiences that contribute to a satisfying and well-lived life. But even with clear priorities, how can one ensure that time is actually used efficiently? How can distractions be managed and procrastination be overcome to consistently make room for what is most important? The answer lies not just in intention but in the systems that shape daily actions. In the next part, we will explore how practical strategies, simple structures, and effective habits can transform the way time is managed and create the discipline needed to protect what matters most. Part 4. Making an effective use of time. Using time effectively is not a matter of chance. Even when priorities are clear and meaningful goals are defined, many people still struggle to stay consistent. The challenge lies in bridging the gap between knowing what matters and actually making it happen. Without deliberate systems and thoughtful strategies, it becomes easy to fall into cycles of procrastination, distraction, and wasted effort. Effective time use is about building simple, repeatable practices that support meaningful work and protect the hours that matter most. Procrastination often appears when a task feels overwhelming, uncertain, or simply uncomfortable. The natural response is to delay, to look for easier activities, or to fill time with smaller, less significant tasks that offer quick rewards. But procrastination does not usually go away on its own. Overcoming it requires understanding why it happens and creating structures that make it easier to begin. One way to manage procrastination is to break large tasks into smaller, more approachable steps. Starting becomes less intimidating when the focus is on the very first small action rather than the entire project. Progress builds momentum, and as small steps are completed, resistance begins to fade. Taking the smallest possible step forward can often be the key to unlocking meaningful progress. Setting clear deadlines, even for personal tasks, can also help. Without defined time frames, work can easily stretch beyond what is necessary, or it may be postponed indefinitely. Deadlines create structure and provide a natural push to move forward. When commitments are tied to specific dates, time is less likely to be wasted. Effective time use is also supported by creating daily and weekly plans. Many people approach their day without a clear sense of what they intend to accomplish. This leaves them vulnerable to reacting to whatever arises instead of focusing on what matters most. Planning helps protect time by setting boundaries in advance and making conscious decisions about where energy will be spent. Eliminating distractions is equally important. Modern life is filled with interruptions, emails, messages, social media, and countless notifications that constantly compete for attention. Each small distraction may only take a few seconds, but the cost is greater than it appears. Shifting focus, even briefly, breaks concentration and makes it harder to return to deep, meaningful work. Managing distractions requires creating an environment that supports focus. This can include silencing notifications, setting aside dedicated work times, and physically removing distractions from the workspace. Another important strategy is time blocking, which involves assigning specific periods of the day to particular tasks or categories of work. This helps ensure that the most important activities have dedicated space in the schedule. Time blocking reduces the temptation to jump between tasks and strengthens the habit of working with focused intention. Building effective habits plays a central role in making good use of time. When positive routines are consistently followed, they eventually require less conscious effort. Habits create structure and rhythm, allowing important tasks to be completed regularly without needing constant motivation. Even small, well-designed habits can produce significant results over time when they are consistently applied. Energy management is also a critical but often overlooked part of using time effectively. Not all hours in the day are equally valuable. Energy naturally rises and falls, and it is important to align demanding tasks with periods of peak energy. When people attempt to complete difficult work during low-energy moments, they often struggle and lose time. Paying attention to natural energy cycles allows for better scheduling and more efficient work. Saying no remains one of the most powerful ways to protect time. Without the ability to decline new commitments or set boundaries, even the most carefully constructed plans can collapse under the weight of added responsibilities. Every time something new is accepted, something else is displaced. Saying no is not a sign of weakness or avoidance. It is an essential part of guarding the time needed to focus on what truly matters. Making effective use of time is not about perfection. It is about consistently choosing to return to what is most important, even when distractions arise or when motivation fades. But even the best systems and strongest plans are not enough without the ability to focus deeply. How can one develop the power to work with sustained attention in a world designed to pull focus in every direction? In the next part, we will explore how mastering focus can unlock the highest levels of productivity, and how protecting mental energy can make all the difference in achieving what matters most. Part 5: Developing Extraordinary Focus. Focus is the quiet force that determines whether time will be used effectively or wasted. Without the ability to concentrate, even the most carefully planned tasks can drift into incomplete efforts, interrupted by distractions and consumed by mental clutter. In a world filled with constant noise, developing extraordinary focus is not simply a useful skill, it is essential for meaningful progress. Many people find it increasingly difficult to maintain their attention for extended periods. Notifications, endless social media feeds, and rapid shifts between tasks have conditioned the mind to expect constant stimulation. This weakens the capacity for deep focus and makes it harder to engage in the kind of work that requires sustained attention. Focus is not just about resisting distractions. It is about training the mind to stay present with a single task until valuable work is done. Deep work, or uninterrupted concentration on a cognitively demanding task, produces the highest quality results. This level of focus allows ideas to develop fully, problems to be solved more efficiently, and tasks to be completed with fewer errors. Deep focus leads not only to better outcomes but also to greater satisfaction. The feeling of being fully absorbed in meaningful work is one of the most rewarding experiences, yet it remains rare for many because the ability to protect focus is frequently neglected. Developing strong focus begins with protecting mental energy. Energy is not constant throughout the day. There are natural rhythms in attention, with certain periods offering greater mental clarity and others marked by fatigue. Aligning important tasks with high-energy periods can significantly improve focus. Working when the mind is fresh, typically in the earlier parts of the day, increases the chances of entering a state of deep concentration. Another effective practice is to work in cycles. Focus is like a muscle. It can only be sustained for limited periods before rest is needed. Short bursts of intense focus, followed by brief breaks, help maintain mental sharpness and prevent burnout. Techniques such as working for 25 to 50 minutes and then taking a 5-minute break can strengthen focus over time. As the ability to concentrate improves, these cycles can be adjusted to fit longer periods of deep work. Minimizing cognitive clutter also enhances focus. The mind cannot fully engage with a task when it is occupied by unfinished commitments or unresolved decisions. Clearing out mental distractions, whether by writing down lingering tasks or by resolving simple issues before beginning focused work, creates the mental space needed for full attention. Focus thrives in clarity and collapses in confusion. Creating an environment that supports focus is equally important. Physical surroundings influence mental states. A workspace free from distractions, with minimal noise and limited visual interruptions, can help the mind settle into concentration more quickly. Setting clear boundaries with others during periods of focused work also helps protect attention from unnecessary interruptions. Intentional technology use strengthens focus. Devices and apps are often designed to capture attention and encourage constant engagement. Managing when and how these tools are used is crucial. Turning off notifications, blocking access to distracting websites, or even using specific applications that support deep work can make a noticeable difference. Building extraordinary focus is not about eliminating all distractions permanently. It is about learning to return to the task at hand, even when the mind begins to wander. Training focus takes patience and consistent practice, but each effort strengthens the ability to work deeply and protect valuable time. Developing focus is ultimately about choosing to prioritize meaningful work over immediate, shallow stimulation. In doing so, life becomes less fragmented, and the sense of control over time grows stronger. But what is the lasting result of mastering time? What does life look like when priorities are clear, time is respected, and focus is deeply developed? As we approach the conclusion, we will reflect on how mastering time shapes not only what we do but who we become. Conclusion. Mastering time is not about controlling every minute or filling every hour with activity. It is about making deliberate choices that bring life into alignment with what truly matters. Time is the most valuable resource, not because of its scarcity, but because once spent, it can never be recovered. It shapes experiences, builds accomplishments, and ultimately defines the life one lives. Throughout this journey, it has become clear that effective time management begins with understanding that productivity is not about doing more, it is about doing what is meaningful. True productivity requires a shift in perception, moving away from the constant pursuit of busyness and toward thoughtful, intentional living. Time is not a fixed external force, it is shaped by the way it is experienced and directed. Making time meaningful involves focusing energy on work and relationships that hold lasting value. It requires the discipline to say no to distractions, to protect precious hours, and to resist the temptation to satisfy every demand that appears urgent. Practical systems and simple daily habits provide the structure needed to overcome procrastination and manage tasks with calm efficiency. Extraordinary focus elevates these efforts, allowing for deep engagement with what matters most. The ability to concentrate fully, even in a world of endless interruptions, is a skill that strengthens over time and becomes the foundation for meaningful accomplishments. Mastering time is not just about improving schedules, it is about improving life. When time is used with clarity and purpose, it creates space for growth, for connection, and for the quiet satisfaction that comes from knowing each day is a step towards something valuable. In the end, mastering time is less about doing everything and more about choosing the right things, and consistently choosing them well. If you found this audiobook summary valuable, remember that mastering your time begins with taking small, intentional steps today. Do not let these insights remain just words. Apply them, protect your time, and create a life that reflects what truly matters to you. To continue learning and growing, be sure to subscribe to this channel so you never miss more summaries that can transform your mindset, sharpen your skills, and guide you toward meaningful success.